Good morning, Central, and welcome back to BM News, where we dig deeper into our history.
And on today's agenda, we're not really going that far back, but we're taking a look at only 3 years ago for the 1773 Tea Act. We're going to be interviewing one of the colonists and someone from the British Parliament.
Let's go ahead and meet Farmer John. Come on in, John.
Hey, y'all. How's it going?
Fantastic. So, John, if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and get right into the questions. For all those people who don't know, what was the Tea Act all about? How did this come to be?
Well, Margaret, the East India Company granted the right to ship its tea directly to our colonists while landing it in England first. And the commission agents who would have the sole right to sell tea in this colonies, the act remained the duty tax and imported tea at its existing rate. But since the company was no longer required to pay additional tax in England, the Tea Act effectively lowered the price of England companies' tea in the colonies.
Why was this a problem for the colonies?
Well, ladies, if Parliament expected that the lower cost of tea would appease the anger of us colonists into accepting to the Tea Act, they were gravely mistaken. By allowing the East India Company to sell tea directly in American colonies, the Tea Act cut out colonial merchants and prominent and influential colonial merchants reacted with anger. Other colonists viewed the act as a way to allure them into accepting Parliament's right to impose taxes on them. The act also made allies of merchants and pirate groups like the Sons of Liberty. Private mobs imitated the company's agents into resigning their commissions, and several times crowds of colonists gathered along the ports and forced company ships to turn away without unloading their cargo.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, Farmer John. Now let's hand it over to Barbara.
Thank you, Margaret. And now welcome to the stage, Tyrone Jr. the 6th.
Thank you, Barbara.
So, Tyrone, how long have you been a part of the British Parliament?
It's been 37 years.
Okie dokie. I have to know, Tyrone, how did British Parliament respond to the colony's reaction to the Tea Act?
Parliament responded with a series of harsh measures intended to restrain colonial resistance to British rule. 2 years later, as we know, the war began.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Tyrone Jr. the 6th. Now let's hand it over to George for the sports.
Thank you, girls, and good morning, sports fans. On December 16, 1773, the lineup for sports was a barrel throwing competition. We estimated that hundreds of people took part in this event. For fear of punishment for losing, many people decided to stay anonymous. Now, here next to me is one of the participants, and he's one of the Sons of Liberty who organized the whole thing, Samuel Adams.
Hello, George, and I'm very excited to tell you all about this event.
Well, that's fantastic, because I have a lot of questions for you. What is the Boston Tea Party?
The Boston Tea Party is a sport where a well-organized group of men dressed up like Native Americans. We boarded the company ships, East India Company, of course. We men smashed open the chest of tea and dumped their contents into the Boston Harbor, so it would be easier to throw the crates. This was what later came to be known as the Boston Tea Party.
How much tea did they dump into the harbor?
340 chests of tea, so roughly 46 tons.
I see. And how does the Boston Tea Party relate to the Tea Act? What happened that threw you men into doing it? What was the end goal, Samuel?
Well, I mean, the whole point the Sons of Liberty went through with the Boston Tea Party is because the Tea Act made colonists and others angry, like Farmer John said in the earlier segment. Our goal was to protest British Parliament, this tax on tea. We really wanted to get no taxation without representation across the Parliament.
How long did the Tea Act and Boston Tea Party last?
The Tea Act lasted for 3 years from it being passed to the colonists actually declaring their independence in the American colonies, and the Boston Tea Party only lasted one night, but the effect of the event lasted so much longer.
And what was the effect of the Boston Tea Party?
The Intolerable Acts, which is a completely separate newscast.
Okie dokie.
It's the other one.
Now go. 1, 2, 3. Until next time, thanks for watching us on BM News. Okie dokie. Until next time, thanks for joining us on BM News. Okie dokie. Would you care for a cup of tea?
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with
Alex Calhoun. That's my knees popping. Ouch! Oh my gosh! I don't know what to do. Why are you forcing me to do this? That landed. Batter's up. Another one. Oh crap. Oh my god. Why am I doing this? What do I do? Oof! Oh no! Hi. I gotta go to